We're going to start this tutorial by selecting the flowers JPEG, flowers plural JPEG in your pictures folder. Open that up and you'll notice that you get a brand new canvas with some pretty butterflies and a layer, a brand new layer over here on the side that is locked. Now we can leave that locked because anything we do, we're actually going to do to a separate layer. I'm going to make an exact copy of this layer just to make sure that we save it, and any adjustments we might make to the other layer will not affect this one. I'm going to drag this down and drop it on top of this button down here that looks like a page peel, and now it says copy of background or background copy. I'm going to double click on that right there and rename it BW background. We named this BW background because eventually this is going to be our black and white background. I click anywhere on the screen and that name should take there. If I go over here to the toolbar, if you are in CS3 or CS4, your toolbar probably looks a little more like this long slender thing, and if you're in CS2 or before, it should look like this double-sided toolbar. What we're going to do is we're going to use the lasso tools. There are 3 different lasso tools here. We've got regular lasso tool, and if you click and hold down, you'll see that you have your polygonal lasso tool and your magnetic lasso tool. We're going to use the magnetic lasso tool. You should know you have it because there's this little tiny magnet and what looks almost like a coat hanger in your picture. And if you hover over your picture right here, you'll notice that it looks exactly the same. In order to be more accurate though, I'm actually going to zoom in on this document. To zoom in on this red flower right here so that I can cut it out, I can hold down Alt and use the scroll wheel on my mouse. That's one option. Or I can grab the zoom tool right here, located just underneath the eyedropper, and I can actually just draw a box around that flower and it will snap me to the flower. So I'm nice and close now. There are other options in Photoshop to get close to your document or close to your object, but those are the 2 that I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back up here, grab the magnetic lasso tool, and now the magnetic lasso tool actually makes adjustments for you. What it does is it recognizes the difference between this red color here and the blue color of the sky, and so it says, there must be a line of differentiation there, and I'm going to try and follow it. So all you have to do is click near that first line, and you can sort of follow the flower around without much work. Sometimes you'll need to put your own anchor points in there by clicking. Otherwise it'll assume and put in its own anchor points for you. Right now, see, I haven't clicked for quite some time now, and it's actually following this flower quite well. For this experiment, I'm not going to worry too terribly much about how accurate I am. You may want to take your time with this, and don't be discouraged the first time you use this tool. It's not very fun. You will probably mess up. That being said, let's say I accidentally clicked way up here and my lasso tool gets way out of whack. If I hit the backspace button on my keyboard, it will back up for me in time. It will remove those little anchor points for me until I can get back to where I didn't mess up. I'm going to just continue going here all the way around this flower, clicking all the way. And like I said, I'm not necessarily taking my sweet old time here. Just kind of making it around. And when you get back to the beginning, you'll notice if you look really, really closely, a little tiny circle appears indicating that you are about to close or finish that selection. And when you finally do click at back at the beginning, you'll see that you have the little dancing ants, or the little marching ants. The selection tool has finished. You have created your selection. This time, instead of dragging anything down to the layers section down here, we are going to actually just use a shortcut key known as create a new layer via copy, is what it really is. I call it a jump layer, and you'll see why. If you hold down Control and hit the letter J, it makes a brand new layer for you. You should notice right over here in your layers palette, a brand new layer with just the flower has appeared there. I call that a jump layer because, well, you use the letter J. And in this case, we're going to rename this layer as flower. You call it red flower if you really want to. It doesn't really matter. We just want to make sure we know what layer we're on. Now I'm going to bring the document back to full size. Now I could use all those different techniques like using the zoom tool in reverse, so on and so forth, or I can just double click the hand. If I double click the hand, it opens my document back up to the largest size that it can possibly be inside of my screen. But it still reveals the entire document. That's the nice part. So what I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to change this background but leave the flower red. By doing that, or by making this separate layer on top here, this flower layer, I'm actually allowing myself to make changes to every part of the picture and leave this new layer alone. If I turn the eyeball off, if I poke both eyeballs out, you can see that I've got this suspended flower up here doing nothing at all, and all this checkerboard just means that it's transparent. Now I'm going to turn the eyeball back on the black and white background. In order to turn this actually black and white, we're going to do like a pseudo black and white, because if we change this to black and white altogether, the document to black and white, well then the layer on top would be black and white also. So we're going to go Image, and we're going to adjust that layer. Adjustments, we could change it to black and white, but really all we want to do is desaturated. So you can see that the shortcut for that is Shift-Control-U, but we're just going to click desaturate, and sure enough, I have a black and white background with a red flower. Now that really jumps out at me. And one of the things I can do now is I can double click the zoom tool and we'll bring it back to natural size, and that looks, the resolution looks a little bit nicer, so on and so forth right now. For right now, that's about all we're going to do, except for I'm going to show you that if I didn't have this flower layer on top, if the flower were not the very top layer, let's say for instance I dragged it down underneath it, well then you don't see the flower anymore because the background layer is covering up that flower. So just make sure that you put that flower layer, or that flower layer is on the very top. Your final document could be anything. It could be the butterfly is the one thing glowing in the background. It could be that you left the sky glowing in the background. Play around. See what different options you can come up with, but leaving the background black and white.